welcome to another episode of Practical IT. Today we're taking a look at Freespire, which is another free Linux distribution based on Ubuntu. Now, Freespire is a spin-off of Linspire, which contains some proprietary stuff, and there is a charge for it. So we'll take a look at Freespire and see what we think and go from there. Alright, we will get the install started and see what we're dealing with. Pretty bare bones install so far. Nice splash screen. Stick this in scaled mode. We get a little larger for everybody. I do like the logo has got sort of that pulsing effect on it for the splash screen. Let's see how long this goes, and hopefully we can get into our installer here pretty quick. Alright, as you can see in the bottom right corner, this is a KDE distribution, or KDE desktop based system, which your normal Ubuntu is GNOME based. Nice looking desktop. Missing text for the menu. That's a little bonkers. Now let's see what we can do here. Got a lot of options, which is typical of a KDE distribution. Pretty cool. Background. Wondering why so much of this does not have text next to it. Alright, let's see about just running the installer here. English. Continue. Normal installation. We're going to download third party. So far this is not too bad. My only gripe at this point is why was there so many instances where there was no text? We'll let this go. Guided entire disk. Continue. New York, that's fine. Alright. Okay, I wish I knew what I was clicking on. We'll see what happens when this gets done with the install. I'm going to pause the video and we'll come back at the end of the installer. Alright, we've reached the end of the installer. Let's go ahead and restart, and maybe some of our spots where we didn't have text before will be populated. Alright. See what we get for a desktop, and if it uses the entire screen. I've gone into full screen mode, so hopefully this will use it. Okay. Well, we are, let's see, start scale mode. Alright, let's see if we can change some things around here. Updates, networks, false. So good. Settings. System settings. Okay, desktop behavior, surface shutdown. Display and monitor. Okay, let's see. Let's do 1440 by 900. That's a little nicer. Full screen it. That's usable. We've got some updates we can do. We'll prompt for password. Or not. So while we're waiting for that, let's take a look at their menu. Recent applications. We've got some games preloaded with DOSBox. That's different. Graphics. WinView, Carbon, Color Paint, Ocular, Shotwell, and Scanlight. Chromium browser. Multimedia has Amarok, Cheese, K3B for burning disks, VLC, and Pulse Audio volume control. We've got the Calligra suite installed for Office, which is based on the K-Office package of many moons ago, and so that's got its own little interface, but very usable here. So a little simpler than LibreOffice. We can do save and see what our formats are. It does support ODT, Word 2007, plain text, wiki format, plain text document. So if you want a no frills word processor, that would serve the purpose very nicely. Let's keep this off. Minimize that. Alright, so let's see. Office, settings, boot repair, input method, startup disk creator, synaptic package manager, and system settings. System has a number of things in there as well. Utilities, calculator, dual pane, file manager, which is handy to have installed. You've used Norton Commander for DOS. If you used Directory Opus on the Amiga back in the day, then you'll understand how useful these dual pane managers could be. The basic idea is you open your two different directories, one on either side, and then you can copy and move and do various activities using the function keys that are listed down at the bottom. Handy tool. Alright, so that was under utilities. There's lost and found. And then of course your power session menu, which has been a staple of KDE for quite some time. Down the bottom you've got the system folder. You've got a search. We'll get rid of that. You can open the Dolphin file manager, and this is kind of splitting the difference between Windows Explorer and Finder on the Mac. Let's see, we've got large icon view, we've got compact view and list view. You can turn on the preview. You can do split. And then there's other options in the control menu. Pretty standard stuff. A nice feature is this recently saved. You can get stuff today, yesterday, this month, or last month. Makes it handy when you're trying to find things. And then it's got, of course, documents, images, audio, etc. And the device will bring up the root of the system. It's all good. In the upper right corner, we've got some options as well, which you can leave your session, we'll cancel clipboard, refresh desktop, show desktop, activities, which will allow you to create activities, an icon, just pick anything and say create, and so then you can switch to activities, which are basically your virtual desktops. Come back to default. Alright, so everything is downloading, and I'm going to give this a few minutes to finish up, and then we'll see about installing guest editions. And we're back again. We've finished with the updates. While that was finishing, I downloaded a new mouse pointer theme, which is the Amiga OS Retro Modern, which is kind of cool. The red sticks out nicely when you're doing things in a dark theme. Let's alright, so let's do our guest editions. Let's see how this goes on Freespire. Okay, so shows us the contents of the disk, and we want to do, let's see, execute that. password. And this will take a few moments again. So while this is going through its thing, this has been a nice look at a KDE distribution. I have not been running KDE much lately since Ubuntu keeps pushing GNOME-based things, and Ubuntu seems to be the most popular distribution out there for people. And unless you're in a business where you're using Red Hat or CentOS, then you're usually going to get a GNOME interface. And so I started many moons ago with KDE, I think even before it was 1.0, and the reason I used KDE for many years over GNOME is because on the hardware I had, it was far more stable. Now, GNOME in recent years has had a lot of work done on it, and I have not seen the stability issues that I used to. So, you know, personal aesthetic preferences aside, GNOME is usable, and sit down in front of any computer, regardless of what OS it's running, and be able to be productive with it. So a lot of people have this disconnect. You know, hardcore Windows users can't go to a Mac. Hardcore Mac users can't go to Windows. People that use Linux tend to be able to move pretty fluently between any operating system, and for that matter, any desktop environment on a Linux or BSD system. So this has been a nice look. I'm not convinced that I would use this on a system of my own, because being the quote-unquote free knockoff of Linspire and knowing the track record behind that distribution, it just doesn't appeal to me that much. But I would consider this for somebody that comes from a Windows background and for whatever reason isn't willing to or can't afford to move to a current version of Windows that's supported, meaning Windows 10. And there are plenty of arguments for staying the heck away from Windows 10, but we won't get into those here. This Freespire seems to be pretty responsive from what I've used it so far, and it's got a decent amount of software installed by default. The one thing I would get installed on here pretty quick like would be LibreOffice. I've been standardized on LibreOffice for a lot of years. I have it installed on all my systems, regardless of Linux, Windows, or Mac OS, so that I can move files between all the systems without any real hassle. And this does have the 6.2.3 package available. Mark for installation. Mark. And apply. Sure. And we'll let this do its thing, and we'll end up with LibreOffice installed as well. But I know some people will complain about it if I don't. So this is Freespire 4.8, and it is running a Linux 4.18 kernel. Memory total is 4 gigs minus the memory used by graphics and our free memory. So it's using a good chunk of that, but we're also running Synaptic and installing LibreOffice at the moment, so maybe not the best time to check this. So it is using the systemd from Ubuntu, and so it has our ENP0S3 as our default Ethernet device. Gone are the days where it was simple with ETH0 and 1, etc. But as with all things technology, things change and we as humans have to adapt. So my recommendation would be, if you've got somebody that is used to Windows, this would be a contender to put them in front of for a first Linux distribution. If they are open-minded and willing to experiment and learn, then I would not hesitate to put them in front of a standard Ubuntu desktop or an Ubuntu Mate desktop. Yeah, all these different Ubuntu variants are useful for some use case. It is up to us, the users of these Linux distributions, to determine what that use case might be. So that's my 2 cents. Take it for what it's worth, and that'll bring us to the end of another video. If you like the video, please give a thumbs up, subscribe, and click the bell icon for notifications. You can leave comments down below, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.